Hi, my name is Catherine Bryan and I'm Principal Flute of the Royal Scottish National Orchestra, and this is my beginner's guide to the flute. I love the flute because I love the sound. It quite often carries a very important melody, so you'll hear the flute prominently in lots and lots of pieces when you hear the orchestra play. You'll see it really prominently too, and you're kind of drawn to that shining, beautiful instrument across the orchestra. To make a sound, we blow over the lip plate, which is at the top here. We blow over that, a bit like blowing over the top of a bottle. The air going across there will split, and that's what creates the sound. So a lot of people talk about the flute as blowing into the flute, but you don't, you blow across this hole at the top here on the lip plate. Then you'll see all these keys, and we press those down to make different notes. The more keys we press down, the lower it plays. And the more keys I take up, the higher it plays. So the flute can play a note quite low, it's actually middle C. The flute can play very, very high, and it can sound quite piercing, but I'll take you up to the highest note. So this one's called flutter tonguing, when I flutter my tongue into the flute. And it can also do something quite fun called pop tonguing. The flute sits right in the middle of the orchestra, right in the middle of the action. So the flute sits next to the oboes, and we sit in front of the clarinets, and with the bassoons on that side of us on the back row of the woodwinds. So it's a real kind of team feeling in the woodwind section. We often play the higher melodies, so we're quite often playing along with the violins and the trumpets. We're playing those kind of soaring melodies. The flute has this beautiful natural singing sound, and you can really hear this style of playing in a piece by Bizet from his Carmen Suite. This is the entr'acte. The flute often plays the role of a bird in pieces in the orchestra, and little small animals, insects in particular, and this one is one that you might recognise. So the flute is a member of a family. This is sort of the mummy of the family, but it also has a little sister, and this is the piccolo. Now the piccolo plays in the orchestra too, but it plays higher than the flute, plays an octave higher. So everything the piccolo plays sounds very high. If you thought the flute sounded high, the piccolo is even higher. And there are two other flutes in the flute family that you see quite often. The alto flute, which is bigger again, and the bass flute, which is even bigger. So you need quite sort of strong arms to play the bass flute, and that plays really quite low. So all those four flutes kind of cover quite a big range of notes. So when I was talking about blowing over the lip plate, that's sometimes quite a difficult thing to do straight away. So don't worry if you find that difficult. What you can try is blowing over the top of a bottle. Now it isn't exactly the same, but it's very, very similar to the way that we would blow over the top of the flute. So if I do this, that's very similar to how I would play my instrument. And it creates quite a sort of fluty sound too. It's really important when we do that not to tighten up our lips, because that's very important when we play the flute, not to be too tight. So when you're blowing over the top of your bottle, just keep your lips as relaxed as you can. And you can try it with different sizes of bottle, and you can also try it with different levels of water in your bottle, and that'll create different notes. When you're starting to learn the flute, this is actually a really good starting point, just to use the head joint on its own to get used to blowing over the top of this blowing hole. And that's what creates the sound. I can do something quite fun here now. You can make quite a good sound quite quickly on the flute if you can master blowing across the top of the bottle, which I'm sure you can all do. If you want to get involved and start playing the flute, talk to your school music teacher or contact your local authority, and there are lots and lots of avenues you can go down to reach a teacher or to get involved with an ensemble. As a flute player, it's great because there are so many flute choirs out there which are really fun to play in whatever stage you are in your flute playing. And also wind bands, wind ensembles, and then hopefully orchestras too. And playing as part of a music family is definitely one of the highlights of playing an instrument. The flute is better than any other instrument for so many reasons. It's small, so it's easy to carry around. And I think in terms of where it sits in the orchestra, we're right in the middle. And I love that the flute can be quite a physical instrument because you have to hold it out to the side, so you can kind of create a real feeling of leading people when you play your instrument, which is really nice. The flute is also the only instrument that has an opera written with its name in the title. So Mozart wrote an opera called The Magic Flute. And I think that says it all, really. It's pretty magic. I love playing my flute in the orchestra, and I love being part of the big orchestra family. And we get to play the most amazing music, and to do it with a room full of people that you are friends with, that's just a wonderful thing to be able to do. As a musician, one of the most important things is that we're communicating with people. We're communicating with the people around us. Just like you talk to somebody, we're doing that, but through making music. And that, I think, is one of the most valuable things that we can do in our lives.